Hello, and welcome to 2026 Overview. This is Christina at Starfires, and I would like to give you a synopsis on many planetary configurations that are coming up throughout 2026. Many of them, you're going to hear the dates go way out into the future, but I'm including them and all of the future dates so that you can get a picture of the grand scheme of things, like how epic some of these astrological cycles are. From an astrologer's point of view, planets come and go, they peak for maybe off and on for a year, maybe a year and a half, and then they move on. But some of these astrological configurations go on for quite a long time. I went back to the 1800s for looking and searching for some of these planetary experiences we're having this year, and to see if how many times they all bunched up together, combined like they are this year and next year, and how some of them were also last year, 2025. And I couldn't find any until we started getting into 2025. And I remember a long time ago in early 2000s, I was commissioned to write an epic update over the next 25, 30 years, to keep going and researching until I finally found a time period where it looked like the planetary configurations might denote the entry of a golden age type of experience in the sign of Aquarius. And I remember thinking at that time it was such a laborious task to incorporate every single year after year research planetary configurations lining up. I could see some good ones, mostly harsh ones. There were definitely many years where there was a lot of very heavy planetary configurations that were just dark. And then finally, the light started breaking through in 2025. And I remember thinking as I was going through these planetary alignments in 2025 on, I don't even believe this. Like all of a sudden you could feel the energy shift and there was a new light coming down, and these planets were in positive aspects to each other, and they were powerful planets. Pluto, Uranus, Neptune, Saturn, they were all aligned very positively. And there were also some epic things that were going on with the nodes and Neptune and all of that. So I did the presentation, and I actually was astounded myself that I discovered this trend coming up way back in 2020, maybe it was 1999, when I wrote out this lecture. And I started writing the lecture feeling a little bit jaded, like I'll never find it. This is probably a long shot, but they had to talk me into it. But I was surprised when I did actually see it break through. Well, guess what? Now we're here. Now it's happening. So I'm going to do my best to go through each one of these planets that I saw so long ago and what I feel that they mean for us on the planet Earth as a humanity and individually. So let's start out with the most important configuration for the first quarter of 2026. It mildly started last June, July, August 2025. It was the planet Saturn and Neptune in a conjunction. That means they are connected, they are merged with each other. And Saturn is a structural, concrete, systematized, orderly planet. And some say that in a higher realm, it is some kind of broadcasting device with its rings, its antenna, its moons, and the hexagon on the polar. I think it's the top of Saturn, the hexagon shape spinning. There's something odd about Saturn with its energy. It does represent confinement. It represents our karmic assignment in our personal charts and the planetary cycles. So it's a kind of a heavy planet. It's meant to crystallize and force things into the physical and force us to address situations, okay? So it did move into Aries last June of 2025 and lasted all June, July, August. Then it went backwards, retrograde into Pisces again. And it's going to move back into Aries one more time for 2.5 years and not go back into Pisces again. So when Saturn goes forward into the sign Aries, approximately February 14 to February 28, peaking pretty much exactly like right around Valentine's Day. When it shifts into Aries again, you could feel the energy change from one of confusion, sacrifices, utter patience, and wondering what is going on with your energy, your motivation, your clarity that you need to have. All of a sudden, when it gets into the sign of Aries, it picks back up and gets more clear, more proactive again. Your energy, your motivation, your inspiration. And it's going to combine it with Neptune. So Neptune also has been in the sign of Pisces since 2011. And can you imagine a planet being in one zodiac sign for that long? And for many of you who are Pisces, Virgos, Sagittarians, Geminis, this hasn't been the most easiest cycle from 2011 on, because Neptune in Pisces was either in a conjunction, opposition, or squares to your zodiac sun sign. In general, there could have been experienced just an on again, off again undercurrent of apathy or patience. Again, it's this patience I'm talking about, is just being patient, like, oh, tomorrow will be better. I need to keep my hopes up. I need to keep a good attitude. I need to work at my exercise. I need to work at my positive visions and affirmations, or I need to push myself to achieve these goals, because otherwise I probably wouldn't care, or what's the point? So Neptune in Pisces was potentially spiritualizing the planet, but it was so ephemeral and so ethereal, and its negative energies are astral and underlying currents of passivity and discouragement, that we also, I'm sure, many of these what I call yellow ray zodiac signs had to fight against the current of this kind of a wasting time or downward spiral thoughts or energies, just fighting against it. So when Neptune leaves Pisces, we should all celebrate, because it's going to bring a greater fire. Neptune in the sign of Aries, a greater fire, a sense of motivation, a sense of clarity and decisiveness, of bringing down our visions and our communion with a higher inspiration down into the physical and taking action on them. So I think that it's going to change a lot of our attitudes for the better. So let's get this clear again. So Saturn went into Aries last June. Neptune went into Aries a little bit last March 31st, 2025, and did conjoin Saturn June, July, and August, but not exactly. Neptune started to move close to Saturn, but was a degree away, because it went to 1-2 degrees Aries, and Saturn didn't quite match it exactly on particular dates like it's going to do this time. So that's the difference. So this coming 2026, oh, by the way, then Neptune did go back into Pisces, just like Saturn did, one more round of dealing with just this undercurrent of, I don't know what you would even want to call it, just a little bit of apathetic disorientation, and things just appearing to be a little bit mushy, murky, and not so clear, fighting against emotional projections of failure or discouragement or things like that. So that finally popped back into Pisces again, the Neptune, on right around end of November, going into, like, I would say end of October, going into November. 2025, and then finally pops out of Neptune again, finally, once and for all, on January 27, 2026. And then will continue through the sign of Aries for many, many years, which will be interesting to see what happens with that Neptune in Aries. Maybe I will cover that in a little bit more depth in the future. So Neptune is finally finished in Aries in 2038, and that is a very long time for Neptune to be moving through a fire enthusiastic zodiac sign. So now we have Saturn and Neptune both conjoined, and the exact date of the conjunction is going to be between February 8 and March 5, peaking February 21, 2026. Every 36 years, Saturn and Neptune join up in a different zodiac sign. But like I was saying before, the last time they were actually together exact at 0 Aries. So 0 is the beginning of all. Every zodiac sign has 29, or we call it 30 degrees. And then all 12 of them make a 360-degree circle. And so 0 degree Aries is very strong because it's cardinal, and it's a key power point in the zodiac belt, because Aries is the beginning, 0 is beginning. There's nothing beyond that. There's no other higher beginning than those, the zodiac sign Aries and the degree 0. So it's like the very start. So it has to do with a fresh reset. Neptune and Saturn both at 0 degrees is an incredible combination. So this is the first time in 4,300 years or so, or 43 BC, that, or earlier, that this has ever happened in that degree and in that sign. So I feel that's really significant. So even though this Saturn and Neptune come around and conjoin every 36 years, it has not come around and conjoined like this before in many, many thousands of years. So this question I would ask myself, or I did ask myself, back when I started writing about this conjunction, is under this rare influence of these planets together, would be, how is this impacting my quest for fulfillment, for greater agency and alignment with my true higher identity? And the reason I would ask myself that, like, what is this going to do for me? How is this going to help me redefine myself? Because Aries has everything to do with inspiring, youthful, childlike, innocent identity and self-image. It's the 0 point. It's the point of discovering self and discovering, who am I? And the higher realm of Aries is the higher self, the Christ, the Christed one, the Christ itself, just a hair away in another dimension, another frequency just above us, communicating with us and guiding, instructing, mentoring us. And it's probably doing it a lot more than people can realize throughout the day. But I think what this combination of Saturn and Neptune are going to do is bring this into people's more conscious awareness. How can I become more of my real self? So Neptune is idealism and Saturn crystallizes. So if you've got these two planets together, it's going to be the crystallization of the highest ideal of my true greatest potential. You can look at it that way. And then just know that I feel that interfacing with this conjunction is an open portal or open door to realizing more and more of our real divine self. You could catch these glimpses of your thoughts and your decisions throughout the days and the weeks ahead as something higher, more profound, more objective, more reasonable, or more mature, more responsible. Maybe deeper thoughts, or maybe a capacity to surrender the attachment of certain ego expectations and evolve out of it and let things go. The desire to maybe increase one's devotion to yoga or to meditation or to spiritual practices or to working out or diet, whatever it is, there seems to be an inspiration combined with from the Neptune onto the Saturn. And the Saturn's job is to bring it into a system or a ritual or some form of crystallizing pattern that now becomes permanent. Here are some of my recent thoughts on Saturn Neptune. It seems this conjunction is giving people a stronger impetus to launch something in their life, which is a greater reflection of their real self, their real purpose in life, their greatest potential. It's an excitement, it's an enthusiasm of looking forward to some new life, new way to be. And it matches an ideal they're reaching for in this embodiment. This aspect began last June through August 2025 in Aries, yet there were no dates where Saturn and Neptune conjoined exactly until we start getting into this February 8 through 21, peaking on the 14th, 2026. So even though it came close last summer, you might even relate to some new impetus of trying new things or starting a new project or some new consolidating a new conviction in your heart, in your mind, something you wanted to do last summer, last June, July, August. For those of you who do not live in the Western Hemisphere, the Northern Hemisphere, so there is a greater power of this combination right now in January, February, March 2026 than there was last June, July, August. Since we are in the age of Neptune sextile Pluto also, which is the desire to realize a more idealistic and perfect everything around us as a humanity in general, we should use this opportunity to integrate this ideal Christ identity, at least pay attention that it might be happening to you more and more each day, but haven't considered what is different about the way you are operating in this dimension, yet there is something different going on inside of you. Saturn's role, again, is to crystallize and make permanent this new way. So by asking, communing, and opening up to this divine perfection and paying attention to like, oh, this is a new mastery, or this is a new mature attitude to take, or this is a higher, better way to handle this problem that somehow I've never been able to actually pull off before. So these kinds of things might have been dawning on you, and you could observe them happening to you since last June, July, August. So even though this cycle is making its last powerful release on February 8 through March 5, peaking February 14 through the 21st, 2026, it continues operating, pulling plans, putting plans down into the physical, new self into action. And as long as Saturn is in Aries alone up through 2028, that is the whole entire time it is implementing this new you. So we've got Saturn, Neptune as a thrust right now, January, February, but then Saturn will move on into future degrees. It'll move beyond 2, 3, 4 degrees Aries, start moving through all the 30 degrees over the next 2 years, 2026, 2027 into 2028. And that will be the entire time period we'll be adjusting and getting used to this new self and this new identity, okay? Neptune will still be hovering behind it from 0 to 6, 7 degrees Aries, because it just doesn't move that fast as Saturn. So I hope you can understand that we want to take advantage of this motivating conviction period for ourselves right now. So that is the first epic planetary configuration I wanted to get to you. And the second one is Pluto. The most significant change in our solar system was Pluto leaving Capricorn and entering Aquarius. And that was predictably around 2023, 2024. And that astrological cycle was epic. It took a while to transition all the way into Aquarius permanently till 2041, 2042. So that's quite a long cycle. Pluto is going to be in Aquarius. So I'm looking here, and it officially went in to Aquarius March 24, 2023. And then exactly on August 9, 2023, it went retrograde back into Capricorn for a while, and then officially launched all the way into Aquarius fully January 21, 2024. So that's when it permanently went in to Aquarius. I can see here that it a tiny bit, it looks like it went back into Capricorn one last time in October 2024 into November, and then November 2024 it was full on all the way to 2041. So just planet Pluto itself, even though it's a tiny little planet, it's way at the end of the solar system. I consider, as an astrologer, watching Pluto's influence in people's charts devastatingly impactful, whether for good or for endings and hard closures. It's profoundly powerful. It's subtle, steady, consistent, driving energy is determined, targeting a particular outcome, whether it's positive expansion and success and victory, if it's in a positive aspect, or if it's in a hard aspect, it's to have closure and purging and a death and ending of cycles. It's relentless. There's nothing that can stop it. Calls and affirmations to encircle and transmute and seal off the negative energies of Pluto really help a lot. It can diffuse, mitigate, and soften the severity of a hard Pluto transit. I've seen it happen. Has it completely eliminated it? I haven't quite observed that yet, but the calls do mitigate quite a bit. So when Pluto goes through the sign of Aquarius, it's going to enhance God love, humanitarian love, individuality, freedom and liberty, alchemy, transformation, self-governing under Christ influence, our Holy Christ self. And then there are all the physical, mundane things that Aquarius rules, such as advanced technologies, physics, consciousness, and all other forms of space and advanced sciences and medicine. And there's nothing that it won't impact. It'll impact humanity's attitude. There's a perversion of every zodiac sign, and there's a high exalted quality of every zodiac sign. And so Pluto in Aquarius could expand and exacerbate all of the complicated, radical, revolutionary, shocking, and unconventional behaviors, attitudes, choices, preferences of people all over the world. But it can also exalt and amplify the unified agreement of wanting people's own rights to do what they want, be who they want, live how they want. If it's not harming anybody, that's the ideal. But the main idea would be freedom and recognizing free will choice and being able to walk through life realizing, okay, I've been given this day. I have the free will to make of it what I desire. And what do I want to stamp my energy, my free will energy onto this day? What do I want to stamp and imprint on the allotment of energy that I've had today? That's the freedom and free will of Aquarius. That is its universal law. And that's why it's called the zodiac sign of alchemy. So Uranus is always associated to Aquarius. And Uranus is the planet of innovation, change, and acceleration. And it's been moving through Taurus since 2018 and just started moving in and out of Gemini 2025. So Uranus, I'll get back to why we're talking about Pluto and Aquarius in a second, but I just wanted to give you a background of how powerful Pluto and Aquarius till 2041 is influencing the whole planet to accelerate rapidly into innovation and transformational change. That is the zodiac sign of change, and Pluto invests its power into that sign. Okay, So it doesn't have any, in this dimension, in this third dimension, in the state that it's in, it doesn't have any capacity to only direct positive Aquarian influences. It's neutral. It's just feeding that sign with power. And so human beings have to decide how they're going to accept and receive that Pluto and Aquarius power, whether they're going to utilize it for the better and promote all the high qualities of Aquarius, or are they going to pervert it and be destructive and jagged and create rebellion energy, which is the perversion of Aquarius. So let's go back to the sign that rules Aquarius now, which is Uranus. Uranus is the planet of the sudden, unexpected events that can erupt and create transformational change. So it's been in Taurus since 2018, which has been pushing serious advances in machinery, engineering, like a fourth, called a fourth industrial revolution, involving rapid acceleration of advanced exotic tech and military equipment of all types. That's not even including like everything else, like everything that's just blown up and gone off the charts of Tauran engineering, the engineering of technology, internet, AI, computers, devices, military machinery, all different forms of medical machinery, cell phones, just everything that has to do with equipment and devices. Taurus is very material. So that's the number one thing that has really taken off. Also an acceleration in the way people earn a living. Since it's been in Taurus, it involves income, financial security, wealth building, independent financial income, also sudden, shocking, unexpected loss of income, layoffs, the COVID cycle, which caused so many jobs to be disrupted, more and more people working remote, independently, not being forced to go to work, but working out of their own space. So it's opened new doors of opportunity, of unconventional ways of doing business from 2018 into July 2025. And then suddenly Uranus left the sign of Taurus and it went into Gemini. Internet-based businesses, remote work intensely increased. But when it's going into Aquarius, it's really targeting communication and mental intelligence, which is obviously, to me, it's got to be the taking off and the singularity of AI. So Uranus in Gemini is scary, scary smart. It's electrifying. So think of Uranus as like a powerhouse of electrical transformational plasma currents of sudden change. Like you have an alchemy, you have a desire, you have a vision. If Uranus is strong in your chart that year, it can electrify it and zap it into like an action. It'll take action. It will create sudden unexpected windfalls or breakthroughs or inspirations or things coming together at the last minute, innovation, and just out of nowhere. So think of electric storms and all kinds of alchemical combinations of like concentration, precipitation, manifestation, bringing things into the physical through the power of our love and our continual repetition of with our invested interest in something and attempting to make it come true. It's this planet of alchemy. Gemini is like rapid networking, connecting the dots, puzzle solving, computations, calculations. It has to do with internet. It has to do with information, knowledge, encyclopedias, libraries, databases. But it also has to do with travel, communication, space travel, space communication, rapid, fast speed transference of monies, of payments, financial exchanges, banking. It's everything that is involved in communication and networking. It speeds it all up and brings it into the space age future. That's what Uranus and Gemini does. It could change education. It could change the way that we learn, how people are going to school, how kids are going to go to school, what they're going to be involved in, and it also forces truth, transparency, honesty, and research into our history. What really happened? What are all these things really about going on in the world that maybe have not been discussed before or have been kind of covered over or brushed over? So it turns things inside out and brings knowledge and revelation of facts and data that are transparent and clear and truthful, because Gemini rules facts. So Uranus in Gemini will expose facts more than ever before. So we know that some of these things have already gotten started way back, especially when I think it slowly started when Pluto started getting into Sagittarius over long periods of time. And there's several different planetary configurations that I can recall. Sagittarius, Gemini have to do with knowledge. So anyway, now it's going to be epic. So let's keep going here on these things. It highlights preserving. Okay, the Uranus in the past from 2018 to 2026 highlighted preserving things that were worth keeping, things that were of value. And so these powers of Uranus and Taurus helped us build, I think, the foundation of business, money, economy. And I also want to talk about metaphysical, spiritual teachings, because it activated also things of value in the area of revelations on the internet, among people, humanity, about knowledge of things. And it could have been esoteric, spiritual, metaphysical, things of value. It started focusing on building a universal network of truth on a spiritual level. So Taurus is the sign of the builder also, not just machines and equipment and money, but it's the sign of worth and value and something worth preserving. So Uranus, which is the higher octave of Mercury, which is mind, could have accelerated also information on the internet that people are like hungry for, that they wanted to build upon and distribute and discuss, that are worth preserving. So now that it's gone into Gemini, I feel that it's going to be more prolific and expansive, all of this knowledge, this spiritual knowledge and communication and getting it out there. So the last piece of Uranus in Taurus from 2018 on was the impact on the economy, since Taurus is also all about money, gold, silver metals, and currency value. So when Uranus is in Taurus, it means rapid change and transformation of ideas, pushing awareness of the real quality of money, the real value of currency, into public awareness. So that started happening 2018 to 2025. People talking all over countries, buying up gold, banks buying up gold and silver. Things are shifting to real value metals of worth, of value. Remember, Taurus equals value. So all of that happened. By the way, Uranus would have gone into Taurus once every 84 some years. These speculating and experimenting with future money, blockchain money, means of exchange, and attempting to integrate new forms of currency are just about to finish with this preliminary period and go live as it shifts into Gemini. And also for another reason, okay, there's some amazing combinations between Uranus, Pluto, Saturn, Neptune, unbelievable, and the nodes. So this whole cycle of potentially a permanent shift into the physical, where the old way of handling our money in the past, all these decades, is over. I'm not quite sure if it's going to block the old way or just add on another layer of options of people having options of a new way of currency exchange, a means of exchange. But I feel it's when Pluto and the North Node, the Moon's node, is conjoined. And I believe that I looked at that. I have it here somewhere. It's November 2027. But we will go through that. But anyway, so Uranus moving into Gemini, Neptune moving into Aries, August 2025 through June 6, 2027 is a sextile, means like clasped hands joined in harmony. So the acceleration and transformational alchemy and change, electrical energy of the new coming from Uranus and in Gemini communication, and combined with the Neptune idealism and inspiration and higher visionary faith and belief, something that anything can happen, magic can happen out of nowhere in the sign of Aries. They're combining their energies. They're in a harmonious sextile, which means they're working really well together to fuse both of their qualities together to make more out of this magical cycle than normal. So that is August 25, 2025 through June 6, 2027. And so it's going to provide more of this idealism, spirituality, and uplifting concepts for humanity, conversations about a future combining advanced society lifestyles combined with potentially greater spiritual awareness of consciousness. There's been a lot of talk about consciousness. What is consciousness? And delving into the physics of consciousness versus the body, versus the mind, versus the brain. That would be the combination of these two planets, definitely. It is supposed to be a step up of people's greater awareness, tuning into these higher realms. People everywhere, open to anything that could be uplifting, transformational, mystical, mysterious, otherworldly. The Saturn's going to conjoin the Neptune, and both of these planets sextile Uranus. And so when Saturn joins it, it has to do with discipline, to like create a system out of it, or create a routine or a new habit, or crystallize the reality. This is really real, like this is really working. I can really count on this. It's physical, it's reliable and consistent. So that's Saturn's part of it. Also, it brings good fortune in general for more people to realize it's better to work together and to let go of their differences than to be separated. So it's a unifying energy over these 2 years. Uranus is also going to make a good aspect to the planet Pluto. So Uranus trine Pluto, July 2025 through May 2028, with this energy of Uranus in Gemini, which began, of course, July 2025, trine Pluto up through May 2028, has to do with an acceleration of the belief in a higher power of the spiritual side of things. Uranus cuts us free from Plutonian abuses of power, communism in general, oppression, abuse of all forms, all over humanity. Uranus has the capacity, when it is in a trine, which is half a triangle, 120 degrees, Uranus has the capacity to cut us free from something negative and oppressive. So if we feel that we've been hitting our heads on a ceiling above us and we can't break through, Uranus has the capacity to come in and shatter the ceiling so we can rise above what has been in the past limiting us. It could also be anything in your life, but out in the world, think of the worst degradation. It could start ripping the covers off of these people and activities that are the worst, and bring an expose of the lowest levels of Plutonian hell into the open for justice and for expiation and purging. Because Uranus also has an alchemical, chemistry, plasmic sort of zapping energy that chemicalizes what it touches nothing will stay the same with Uranus, but it's very quick and lightning and like a chemical reaction, like when you throw an acid onto an object and it transforms. Okay, so that's like Uranus being thrown at the evils and the degradations of Pluto's darkest side. So that's the trine, that's the action that it has. There can also be advanced physics, very, very advanced physics, advanced tech, advanced truth transparency regarding confiscated tech and reverse engineering of tech that has been captured, that is exposing all of the different forms and factions of activities, industries, companies, corporations, underground sub-governments that in the previously nobody knew about, because Pluto has to do with corporate government control and amalgamation of power. So Uranus trine Pluto will open all that up and find a more, I don't want to use the word honest, but transparent way to bring it out into discussion. Like, yes, these things exist. And now that we've told you all, like, don't hang us. We're telling you the truth. They may not be sorry, and they may say we had no choice but to move on it for our own good. But that's probably what's going to happen in the next 2 to 3 years, more and more, because Uranus is honesty. Uranus trine Pluto also could be fantastic technologies that are being built rapidly on the planet, such as Golden Dome shields and all kinds of crazy stuff. Uranus trine Pluto it's pretty strong for you individually transforming your life and going beyond what you would normally see yourself living like in some way, or the success of your business, the success of your family, the success of having breakthroughs and positive permanent changes in your life in some capacity. I'm hinting at the possibility also of more economic freedom. So Uranus is a very transcendental planet. It's also going to square the nodes June 2026. So I just wrote that in there very quickly, but there might be some economic global disruptions, social disruptions, a very, very distinct pushing back and rejection of a system that is being tried to be imposed upon a certain section of society in June 2026, like a violent, almost revolutionary rejection of a system. And it's very, very strong. So I think it might have to do with economic issues, and it could be happening all over the world, or it could just be happening in the States, but that's going on in June 2026. Then we have Pluto again in Aquarius, March 31st, 2025. So think back, March 31st, 2025 through February 2032, making a sextile to Neptune. So now we have this big power planet, or this little condensed superpower planet in Aquarius, bringing in layer by layer, step by step Aquarian ideals, humanitarian ideals. And it's in a friendly connection, sextile, to the planet Neptune, which is spiritualization and idealism. So the last time we had that sextile, I remember because it was in the 70s. And the time before that, it was 1950 to 58. So all the people born in 50 to 58 and then relived the 70s, they would be like 13 to 18 years old. All these people went through idealism, romanticism, fixation with music, songs, movies, actors, lyrics, musicians. It was this Renaissance, peace, love, transcendence, revolutionary romanticism. And it was like Pluto was adding power to the spaciness of Neptune, okay? And the negative of it was just anything goes. because Neptune is very ambiguous, it's very ephemeral, and it has no boundaries. And Neptune also can rule drugs, depression, and spaced out, just lackadaisical. But because Neptune's going to be in Aries this time, I don't believe it's going to be passive. I believe it has to do with finding oneself. There's going to be an intense revolution on the drive to find what kind of world are we living in? Why is it the way it is? Where do I fit into this? What is my part in this? Is it real? Is it fake? Is it synthetic? Is it a simulation? Or is there some divine formula going on here? So I feel that this revelation of physics slash spirituality and our place, our identity in the universe and on earth is going to be really, really strong during these next several years to 2031, 2032. So then, just as you can see back in the past on these other sextile cycles, something really profound and long term came out of those times that are still being looked back, and people are reviewing the 70s, reviewing the 50s to this day. The same thing is going to happen in the far future with the 2025 to 2031 period. People will be fascinated with what we went through, our Neptune and Aries courage, our warrior stance and attitude, our drive to self-realize, our higher self integrate into our world. So again, we're dealing with Neptune and Aries, Saturn and Aries, sextile Pluto right now. So Pluto's activating the search for the higher self integration identity right now. Okay, so let me just synthesize all this. Never is there another time that I have ever witnessed where we have the potential, if we just apply ourselves every day and get rid of the distractions, that we could advance so much in our heart in communion with our real higher self and transcend our lesser mundane life. But it takes conviction and it takes practice. It's not just going to happen. You can't just like lay back and be passive about it. You have to do something. Like so many people now all over, the influencers on the YouTube and internet, they're all talking about they start their day with meditation. That was not being talked about 2 to 5 years ago. It's all of a sudden everybody's talking about it. I remember talking about it on my posts and my videos, and being a bit shy about pushing it because I didn't want people to think I was one of those types of people or a weirdo. But now nothing's weird anymore. Everybody's doing everything. So let me keep going, and then I have some comments about all this other stuff. Now we're going to add in just January 2026, going into February, Saturn sextile Uranus, the strongest on January 20. And this has been ongoing since March 2025. And it simply offers a harmonious flow of getting things done. That's it. It's harmonious with your friends, your coworkers, with cutting through. There just seems to feel like there's more of an effortlessness to have it happen. If you really think about it, I know I'm not saying life is easy right now. It's actually really, the physical world right now is really messed up. But if you think about if you put your mind to something, do you find that the next thing you know, you're just doing it and you're not fighting yourself? Once you get over the initial resistance, you just get it done, get the next one done, get the next task done. That could be the Saturn and sextile Uranus, but sextiles usually mean that there's more of a cooperation with other people, positive solutions discussed, positive relationships being formed that are solid, that are very helpful and very honest, and they match in energy. The people match their energy really well. Saturn also will sextile Pluto March 19 to April 7, 2026. Now this is going to be more of a government or company corporate amalgamation of power, setting new precedent, setting a new standard or a new system. It's something that could be like a law put into motion, or some form of new agreement that's major between two nations, or some sort of power figures that are settling something and ending a dispute. It's a positive relationship between Plutonian power and Saturn government structure systems, like a document signed, or a new thrust of a new relationship built, a new agreement that is. We should probably talk about the solar eclipse that's going to happen on February 17, which is coming right up, just to get that out of the way, since we want to keep on track with month by month through the 2026. And that is going to be 28 degrees Aquarius. Mars will be in Aquarius. Venus is in Pisces. Mercury's in Pisces. Of course, Saturn and Neptune will be in that powerful 0-degree conjunction moment in Aries. But the solar eclipse, it has an organic, inspiring guidance inside of us to move us forward on our future benefit, something we need to embrace, something that is guiding you to take action on. And it's for the upgrading and upliftment and of your life. And it's taking some area of your life and going to improve on some existing condition. Like, think of the way that you've been living for months and months or a while. It's going to step it up to a much more better way, and to address something, to take action on something, to give you more freedom and liberation. Now, because it's in a square to Uranus at the same time on the February 17, and this could be any time between the last week of January and all of February, period. Okay, anytime. It doesn't have to be on the 17th, but that's the culminating crescendo moment that it sets it in motion. Something unexpected and out of nowhere could occur in several conditions and activities of the earth. Something out of nowhere. So because the solar eclipse is in Aquarius, and Aquarius already has to do with the unconventional, unexpected, revolutionary, transformational theme. And Uranus is the same as Aquarius. It's the same action. And if it's in a 90-degree angle, that's sort of like a crazy blazing comet storm whipping past your atmosphere out of nowhere. And then all these little earthquakes are occurring all over the place. So that's what we can expect. So anything, blackouts, internet outages, which are already happening. So even a month or so before an eclipse like this, we could already start seeing signs of the unexpected, out of nowhere circumstances changing in our life out of nowhere. So we want to be very, very grounded in our body, careful where we go, what we're saying, taking care of our business, things that have to do with preparation, crisis management in our cities, in our neighborhoods, being prepared with food, water, gold and silver, supplies, heat, anything that you can think of, not crazy fanatically, just this is one of those high alert periods. So that is the eclipse period. And it's very, very strong a month before, a month after, let's just say into mid to the end of March. It may not subside until we get into to the June, July even, but it's super powerful January, February, March, especially February. So then we also have a Mercury retrograde at the same time on February 22nd, I believe it goes retrograde in. Let me just double check this for a second. I'm going to check right now. When Mercury goes retrograde, it's at 22 degrees Pisces. I'm just trying to recall what exact date. Oh, I think it's the 24th or the 28th that goes retrograde at 22 degrees Pisces. There it is, 26 degrees, or February 26th, it goes retrograde at 22 degrees Pisces. So, The main theme of a Mercury retrograde in Pisces deals with losses, suffering, sacrifices, disappointment, discouragement, dealing with fear, dealing with panic, overwhelm, and things that could cause people to kind of disassociate and not be able to stay very grounded. It can also have a lot to do with very idealistic expectations and assumptions, assuming things and sort of living in like partial unreality. And according to this, let's see what energies it is activating here. Hold on one second. So remember, Mercury is Hermes, the messenger of the gods, bringing key information into your mind, into your outer mind, guiding you and instructing you with an idea, with an insight. Oh, I need to go run this errand. I need to call this person. I need to go research this information. I need to get in my car and go purchase this thing. It guides us for the most important thing that we should be opening up our mind to embrace, accept, and integrate into our life. Every time Mercury goes retrograde, it does that to us in some capacity. It teaches us something. It alters our consciousness and brings a new added important information into our everyday existence. That's just what it does. So it is looking like it's making a trine to Jupiter between February 15 all the way up to March 10, which is a positive, expansive relief of some ideal, a belief in something coming true, or a belief like a good fortune for all of us manifesting in our world. Something that is going to bring emotional comfort, security, safety, and something restored. It's like an ideal vision of something restored. And then but somehow the theme of suffering, loss, fear, and sacrifice is playing a role in this relief, like maybe a reflection on what we've gone through in the past. And suddenly now we're being relieved of it. Because in the trine to Jupiter, that can promise a resolution and a healing of what we have endured, what we have been through. So it's going to be interesting to see what this is. And sometimes Mercury will also involve document signing and paperwork and decisions. So this is going to go on up to March 21, 2026, and then it turns direct. It'll come out of retrograde on March 21, 2026. It'll be exactly 8 degrees Pisces. So, okay, now that we have the solar eclipse and the Mercury retrograde, let's go back to our list of amazing things. So April 2nd to April 16, just like we talked about with Saturn sextile Pluto, March 19 to April 7, and Saturn sextile Uranus, January 20 through March 2025. March 2025 up through February 2026. We've got Saturn sextile Uranus, Saturn sextile Pluto. Now we have on April 2nd through the 16th, Saturn sextile nodes. These are all really amazing astrology cycles. This is, I know this could get weary listening to all these planets and aspects, but this is a whole run of only positive things. Sure, there's negative, there could be negative things maybe still going on in the world, but never have I seen so many positive relationships between planets before. So here's another one. This could involve discussions over certain social, economic stresses that need to be relieved, that need to be eliminated, that need a new system put in place. Maybe it has to do with cost of living, taxes, property taxes. It can involve anything public desires alleviation from, which has been oppressive. So Saturn in Aries is action, an ideal action taken immediately for the alleviation and the cooperation for the people, among power people, to help society in some capacity. It can create treaties, agreements, negotiations, some accepting of conditions from between countries. It could be a document signed. It could be a purchase. It could be a constructive, clear, concise explanation. Also coming out with economy and new money systems and how it's going to go. It has to do with communication and explaining things. Each major country's money, their means of exchange, and how it all is going to operate. So we'll see how this goes. It's meant to be harmonious, intelligent, mutually workable, and agreed upon plan. We can use this energy in our own personal lives, but it should be seen as a global, universal progress of cooperation. Now, Pluto can join the nodes November 2027. When I first saw this, I felt economy, US currency. Pluto can join node. Node has to do with society and economy. Pluto can join is like an amplification of a major uptick and expansion of wealth, power, affluence, and something to do with the end of one era and the beginning of a new era financially. So it's something to do with the new US economy, the new US dollar currency value, means of exchange is set. So even though there might be many versions of it coming in and out for the next 2 years, it feels to me that November 2027 is the moment that it's set. And the last time Pluto can join the node in Aquarius, which is what it's doing this November 2027, was July 1785 through September 1785. So I looked that up. In 1785, the Continental Congress officially adopted the dollar as a national currency, moving away from a mix of foreign coins, especially the Spanish dollar and colonial notes, establishing the foundation for a unified monetary system with a decimal base 10 structure for ease of calculation. This decision formalized on July 6, 1785. So that, to me, is a big deal. Pluto is a concentrated, condensed power planet that involves long, far-reaching ramifications when it moves onto something. It's moved onto the node. And the node, for me, has always represented economy, money, the money for the people, and also just society trends mixed together. What are the trends? What is going on with society? The last time Pluto that I can recall did something significant with the nodes, it squared the nodes, which is really, really bad. And the only thing that I can remember that happened that it was obvious was the fires in Maui occurred. And I was really thrown because the whole time I was posting some kind of economic manipulation in a negative way was trying to like set in and take place. Something was going on that could harm a lot of people and manipulate our money and force some kind of economic crisis. And I was waiting for it. And instead, what happened in August 2024, there were Maui fires, which was so bizarre to me. What does this have to do with our economy and our dollar? I didn't understand. So anyway, if anybody can figure that one out, let me know. Again, the date so far for all these planets that we've been talking about, the positive influences of Uranus, Neptune, and Pluto and Saturn. The beginning of Saturn conjoined Neptune, June 2025 up through March 2026. The Saturn sextile Pluto beginning August 2025 through April 2026. The Saturn sextile Uranus, March 2025, continuing up through January into February 2026. The Uranus sextile Neptune, August 2025, continuing through 2028. The Uranus trine Pluto, August 2025 up through 2029. The Neptune sextile Pluto, 2024 was the major, just very fragile beginnings of it, up through 2033. These are all positive, transformational, humanitarian upliftment, waking up out of a deep sleep, coming alive, wanting peace, prosperity, independence, sovereignty, and transformation of our planet in so many different ways, including science, progress, and physics, engineering, humanitarian concern, and spiritual merging, capacity to spiritually merge and embrace our higher self, our Christed self, is all concentrated during this incredible cycle. So this concludes just the planets itself in these years, and I want to do two things. I want to check and see what it's going to be doing to the United States charts for a start, get that set. And then also I would like to take some of these planets' powers and do a brief overview on how it impacts each person's zodiac sign for the year. Okay? So anyway, thank you so much for this this lecture, this presentation, for your patience. And I'm going to post this on my Star Drops on the starfires.com page. So part 1 was already posted for 2026, the most recent article. This is going to be labeled 2026 part 2, but it's going to be a video. So thank you so much and have an amazing year.